That's done, and I'm going live with Edwin.
Lagos State, Nigeria, is one of the fastest growing cities in the world today. The city's educational system, like that of the entire country, is struggling to keep pace with the burgeoning population. Over 18,000 private schools have opened to fill this void. Over the last decade, the global number of out-of-school children has continued to decline. But while the world is making a remarkable decrease, 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria. The government has come up with various initiatives to tackle these challenges. Similarly, school leaders, education boards, government agencies, and private sector organizations are also committed to solving this issue. In addition to the various efforts being carried out by key stakeholders, Edfin Microfinance Bank is deliberately making efforts to make an impact in the education sector to enable education for the future. About 13.2 million of the country's children aged 5 to 14 are out of school. The education sector in Nigeria is besetted with major challenges such as poor infrastructure, paucity of quality teachers, limited teaching aids, insufficient libraries, laboratories, and computers. These problems continue due to a lack of appropriate funding, despite the efforts of the private sector. The continuous rise of Nigerians schooling abroad shows there is more room for improvement. We need to start enabling education for the future by increasing access to finance, so that there is increased investment in education to increase access and quality of education for the growing population. Nigeria's youth illiteracy has increased from 5.19 million in 1991 to 9.43 million in 2015, growing at an average annual rate of 24.32%.
Edfin Microfinance Bank provides financial services to the education ecosystem. We say that we provide financial services in such a way that it enables the realization of human potential. In Edfin, we believe that if we provide educational support, which is what we call our value-added services, together with financial services, that would lead to improved learning outcomes in schools. Schools will grow faster. They're going to recruit more people. They're going to provide better learning opportunities and open the minds of our young generation so that they truly can make this country great as we expect.
As part of the solution to provide adequate funding, the first specialized education microfinance bank is here. Edfin Microfinance Bank, enabling education for the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And we go live. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Financial Inclusion Week. I'm really excited about this week. This week is such an amazing week because this is 1 week in the year that we get to talk about financial inclusion, about issues, about challenges, about success stories. And today is a great day because we are opening that week up with a wonderful panel, and I'm really excited to be moderating this session. My name is Tolulope Babajide, and I'm the Financial Inclusion and Gender Coordinator at Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited. Welcome and welcome. So before we go to, before I go on to talk about the theme for today and to introduce my beautiful and brilliant speakers, I will be setting a few housekeeping rules. If you, I know we are streaming live on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and for if you're not speaking, you will be kindly muted, just to be able to allow us have that clear clear understanding of what the main speaker or whoever is speaking. And also, this, we could leave our message right, and the message will get the message scrolling at the bottom of the page. Thank you. Just like I said earlier, this week is the Global Financial Inclusion Week, that week where everyone, including governments of in different governments, the financial institutions, as well as the development agency, come together to talk about, emerging issues around financial inclusion, to talk about what are the realities that we have on ground, what are the success stories, what is the stats, what is the stat that we're working with, who are these people that are really excluded, who are these people that are really included, and to also chart a new path to the next level when it comes to financial inclusion. And today with me, I have 5 women that have been at the forefront of designing products, innovative financial products for women. But before I go into that, I will want to talk a little bit about today's theme. Today's theme is inclusive finance, a bedrock economic prosperity of Nigerian women. And taking us today will be a 5 women panel, and I'm just so happy and excited to be moderating this session, to be speaking with the various speakers today, because they come with a diverse, rich experience, and we're going to learn a lot. I want us to come with our pen and paper and to write and to ask questions also. So I will be reading out the bio of our speakers, and I will be starting with Ms. Bumi Lawson. Ms. Bumi Lawson is the Chief Executive Officer of Edfin, is a pioneer managing director and chief executive officer of Edfin Microfinance Bank Limited. Edfin prides itself as the first specialized education microfinance bank with unique and well-researched products and services tailored to cater for the needs of its customers and the education ecosystem. Ms. Lawson holds a master's degree in business administration from the IESC Business School, University of Navarra, and is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School. She's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and a member of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. She is also a fellow of the following institutes: Institute of Credit Administration of Nigeria, Institute of Credit and Collection Management of Nigeria, and Association of Investment Advisors and Portfolio. She is also a board of the following organization: EFINA, Triumph Venture Capital Limited, and independent director, CLC Credit Bureau Limited. She is an advisory board member of Bridge International Academics, Nigeria, Vice President Women in Finance and Nigeria, and member Governing Council FinTech Association of Nigeria. She has attended several courses both locally and internationally, and at renowned institutions including Harvard Business School, INSEAD, and Border Institute for Microfinance, and successfully completed the CIBN Microfinance Certification Program. She's a mother and a mother to two lovely children. I'll be moving on to Sholakwe Akipelu. Sholaka Akipelu is the founder Harvest. She is a certified financial education instructor and a member of the Personal Finance Speakers Association USA. Sholakwe is the founder of Harvest. Harvest is a women-focused and inclusive fintech platform for the underserved and excluded women in Africa. Harvest enables women to participate in savings, impact investments, and credit particularly for the smallholder female farmers in Nigeria. For over 12 years, Sholakwe had worked on the Nigerian top financial brands, including Skybank, Wema Bank, Leadway Assurance, and FCMB. Sholakwe is the Nigerian chapter director for Women in Tech, an international organization with a double mission to close the gender gap and to help women embrace technology. She is also a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. She has attended impactful executive programs at prestigious institutions, including the Lagos Business School and INSEAD in France. I move on to Ifeoma. Udo. Ifeoma Udo is the founder of Shiklude. Shiklude is an organization that is focused on training women in financial services around. She's the founder of Shiklude, a startup in Nigeria that is focused on financial literacy for women, particularly urban women. I move on to Mojurayo Folarin Lawal. Mojurayo is a member of the Financial Alliance for Women New York, a seasoned banker with over 10 years banking experience in customer service, relationship management, product manager, credit analyst, and proposition manager. Presently, Mojurayo is the pioneer manager of the Elevate Proposition Desk of EcoBank, a Pan-African bank with operations across the continent. Last but not the least, I move on to Nkem Okocha. Nkem Okocha is the founder of Mama Money. Nkem is a Syria award-winning social entrepreneur. She's passionate about the change that is possible from investing in poor women in underserved communities. Nkem is the founder of Mama Money, a fintech social enterprise that empowers low-income, rural, and urban slum women with free vocational and financial skills and small loans. Nkem is a 2015 Tony Elumelu Foundation alumni, 2016 Outstanding Leap Africa Social Innovator, Young African Leadership Initiative YALI, and also a 2017 Mandela Washington Fellow. She's passionate about women empowerment, financial inclusion, technology, and entrepreneurship. And we can all see that today we are fully packed with a lot of, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be a day that we are going to learn. It's going to be a day that we are going to listen to what is going on at the forefront when it comes to financial inclusion. And I want us to get our seatbelts ready and ready to learn, to relearn, and keep on learning. So going on, I'll be starting with Miss Lawson. Good morning, Miss Lawson. It's wonderful having you here with us today.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. I'm indeed very happy to be here. Good morning to everyone listening.
Good
Thank you.
morning, and thank you for having us here. It is indeed an honor. Just like I mentioned during our dry run yesterday, I consider it a honor and a privilege to be moderating this session and to have you in this panel. Thank you very much. You are
Thank you. Thank
almost,
you.
you are synonymous with to financial inclusion in Nigeria. Even when financial inclusion, we didn't know financial inclusion the way we know it now. You have been in the field, you have been working, you've been advocating, you've been implementing programs that are centered around financial inclusion, that are centered around bringing people into that beautiful umbrella of financial services. And thank you for the work that you've done so far and what you're still doing. Thank you very much. And then I'll move on to the question. I'll move on to the question. So in the past decade, a lot has been done. A lot has been done around financial inclusion. A lot has been done. A lot of funding has gone into, bringing people in, making sure that more people are, connected to the financial services, making sure that the unbanked are now banked. A lot has been done, right from the angle of the policies from the government, down to the development agencies, down to the former financial institutions. And you have been at the forefront of championing all these various interventions, ranging from advocacy to implementation to, to getting your hands pretty dirty, for a lack of a better word. Would you say in this past decade that a lot has really changed for women? Looking at the theme that we are having today, inclusive finance, a bedrock for the prosperity of Nigerian women. Would you say that a lot has changed in the past decade? Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. As I said, it's an honor for me to be here as well. And to go directly straight into your question, I would say that a lot has changed and a lot has not changed. Where if you compare a decade ago to now, which would be about 2010, there are a lot of new initiatives that have come in to aid financial inclusion. From BVN, you've seen that now with your BVN, you have access to registration. We see more use of digital financial services right on your mobile app. We've seen national identification. 3-tier KYC was also introduced. And looking at the numbers from EFINA, the first EFINA survey was done in 2008. And at that time, 53% of Nigerians were financially excluded. Today, it is 35.9, almost 36% that are financially excluded. So in percentage terms, it looks like there's been some improvement. However, when you look at the actual number of people that are financially excluded, it was 36.6 million. It has actually increased to 38.1 because the population of Nigerians are growing. Now, when we go to look at female exclusion, you will find that the gender gap continues to persist. So while more women now have access to a bank account, 40% of women are still financially excluded compared to males that are only 32% are financially excluded. So there is that persistent gender gap of 8% that we have seen over this decade. So what that translates to could be that those who have access to financial services have deepened services that are available to them. But those who are excluded from get-go are still continuously to be financially excluded. one of the key things that we have seen is that the ability to earn income directly correlates with whether you'll be financially included or not. So that may also indicate that women are earning far less than the men. And I know that even across all tiers of income levels or gender, you will find that that is a gender issue, not only in Nigeria, across the world. So women need to be able to be given the ability to earn an income. And it's a catch-22 because financial services helps women to be able to earn more. So if you have access to credit, have access to savings, then you will be able to invest in your business and earn more money. We also note that women tend to use more financial service, informal financial services like your cooperatives, the group, because that social interaction is important to women. So some of the ways that we can deepen financial access to women will be that they need to actually first focus the products to have a social interaction, networking, so that more women can actually use it. The other thing I also feel, women marketing to women, in terms of getting them to have access to credit, have access to savings, your cooperative, the saving groups tend to have more women. So those are the things that I feel, and it is very important for women to have access to financial services because you can't waste 50% of your population. Nigerian women represent more than even 50% of the Nigerian population. We can't put them and not let them have access to economic wealth and wealth creation. So it is very important. It creates independence, it creates meaning, it creates positive impact. They're able to send their children to school, better schools, access to better health, and so on and so forth. So there's still a lot more that needs to be done, particularly focused on women, to ensure that women actually have access to credit, savings, payments, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawson. Thank you very much for the comment. And there are a few things that you said that really stood out for me. You said there's a persistent gender gap, which is very true. 10 years ago, we had this gender gap. This time around, we still have this gender gap. So what do we do about it? How do we go? Where do we go next from here? And also you mentioned, you said you cannot waste 50% of your population. That is so profound. It is not possible for the government, for the stakeholders to look away and say, oh, no, we've done well. We've done well with financial inclusion. It doesn't work that way because there's still a 50% of that population that is still typically not really considered. So we all need to be deliberate. All hands need to be on deck. And that takes me to Sholape, because when we talk about access is very key. In fact, access and financial inclusion, they go hand in hand. In my LinkedIn post this morning, I spoke about inclusion. Now, the reason why we have inclusion is because it reminds us so much of exclusion, the pains of exclusion. Nobody loves to be excluded. In fact, exclusion is not something that sits right with anybody, either in a social, system or in the education system. When we talk about exclusion, we move back a little bit. So when we talk about inclusion is about that conscious effort in which we take to make sure that we provide access to the people that are excluded. And when we talk about access, we are talking about looking at the various angles here. We are looking at smallholder farmers, female smallholder farmers, who are almost 70% of the entire smallholder farmers in Nigeria. We are looking at, women that live in rural areas, because we all know that people that live in rural areas are more than people that live in urban areas. And that is what Harvest is anchored on. Harvest is a social enterprise that that provides access to female smallholder farmers. So on to you, Sholape. Being a founder of a social enterprise that prioritizes impact investing in female smallholder farmers, a demographic that constitutes almost 70% of smallholder farmers in Nigeria, would you say that this present financing landscape that we have in Nigeria has been fair to them? And I'm talking specifically to female smallholder farmers now. And in a lot of ways, I feel that this category of women have been left behind. Yet they are on the farm, breaking their backs, literally. And when these female smallholder farmers, when they've spent so much time on the farm, when they've done that work, some middlemen comes in and take off the profits from them. So do you think that the financial landscape that we have right now really consider the needs of these women? Would you say that?
All right.
And which is by offering context-specific products that answer to their needs. Over to you, Shalape.
Thank you so much, Tolu, and good morning, everyone. Thank you to Financial Inclusion Nigeria and the amazing panelists. Miss Lucy had pointed out something, and I'll just take it right from there. Thank you so much for doing justice, especially to that persistent gender gap. It's 8%, as she said, and I think that it's also worthy to note that Nigeria is the only West African country on the gender financial inclusion list. That is the countries that are on the priority list. Ghana was on that list before, but they were able to drive their inclusion series for women. So at the moment, we have ourselves countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh on that list. And so you want to ask yourself that with all the clamoring, with all the agitation, what exactly is the challenge? Which comes back to what you said, access and inclusion. They are pretty much not the same. And in the cases of, our own primary target, that is the smallholder female farmers, who make up, as you rightly said, about 70% of the total, agricultural population in Nigeria. The question is not even, or I think that the answer wouldn't be if the financial landscape is ready for them. The answer would be even the society, right, has not given these women enough access or inclusion, let alone, the financial services. You mentioned something, Tolu, and that is key, the middlemen, right? The middlemen are not financial services, but it's been established that these middlemen actually reap, these women off their sweat. So they are stuck in the era of, the high money lender, and they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, yeah? So they are stuck between the high money lender and the person who do, and forced sales, forced chicken sales, as I like to put it. Forced chicken sales where they take the chicken and egg from them, and they are left to start, all over again. And so what Harvest is solving for is both challenges, actually. That is, creative financing, and that's what we need more of: creative financing, innovative funding, and specific funding, right? That's why I'm particularly pleased to see what EdFin is doing, especially in the education space. We are a talented nation, and we cannot afford, to allow our natural talent, especially in human resources, go to waste because of lack of funding. So as I said, that's why we are focused, in that aspect. So what we do is, innovative funding, input financing, connecting them to trainings, to, funding, and then to market, because clearly, these are the three challenges. These are the three major issues that they lack, especially, when it comes to innovative farming, especially with our climate, the rapid climate change. So you see that they are very, very left afar. And then when they get high high interest funds to go to the farm. That is for ones who want to even farm commercially. A lot of those women, let's get it right, that's 75%. A lot of them are, limited to subsistence farming. So they are not treating it as businesses, right? And that's why it's important for us to call for this and then focus on these areas. So what Heavens does is, we give them innovative funding, as we said, connect them to the right training and, premium markets. And so I think that that is an exception and a deserving one for these women who break their backs for the nation, who break their backs for their home, and who research and are reality as evidence that they give community level and household level, back, community level and household level access to whatever benefits they earn or they are given to. So I believe that totally, and I'll round up here, that if we give our women, in our case, the smallholder women farmers, premium access to training, which we give at the moment, training being broadly farm, advanced farming trainings, and also financial literacy that are language-based for them, because that's one thing that, traditional financial institutions had not done. You have to go meet these people where they are and not where you are. And when I say that, I mean it especially psychologically and not just geographically, right? So layering training, funding, and giving them premium markets helps them not to just manage poverty, but to do better, and only then can we achieve financial independence, for these nation builders. And aside from them, like I said, because of the access they give back and to their communities, we will then be able to, cascade. It's just like a matrix. Okay, you give one woman all of that access and inclusion, and then it goes back, as Ms. Lawson had said, to educate, give the at least basic education and, the right level of education exposure to their children, to their offspring, to their communities, to their husbands, to the extended family, and then we can say that nation level and globally, will do better, because I like I keep saying, I said that when we discuss gender financial inclusion, it is not a gender issue. When we talk financial inclusion for women, it is less about a gender issue and more of an economic imperative and more of a global discussion, because once the woman is given the right inclusion and access, trust me, we are able to lift off more people, homes, households out of global poverty. Thank you, Tolu.
Thank you very much, Shalape. And it's interesting to hear you talk about access to training, and well done on the job that you're doing at Harvest. You mentioned access to training, you mentioned financial literacy. Yesterday, also during the dry run, I mentioned to Ms. Lawson that during my NYC, I joined the bandwagon of people that were, then the stock market was really booming. That was 2007, 2008, 2009. So the stock market was really booming and everyone was buying stocks from, all sorts of stocks. And with my allowance every month, I will take and I will buy stocks. But I was totally financially illiterate. I didn't understand. I didn't know one thing about the stocks that I was buying. I didn't understand what it meant to buy those kind of stocks, when I should buy those kind of stocks. I didn't have those kind of information, and I made a lot of mistakes. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I felt that scarred me for a little while, because at the end of the day, I didn't even get, for a long time, I couldn't even track where my SEC number was, as in I was just scattered. Which then talks us the importance of financial literacy for women. The reason why a lot of women do not interface with financial services is because they are not comfortable enough to interface with financial services. They do not have enough understanding about what they should do with different financial service, providers, or even channels, or even investment options, which then takes us to the importance of financial literacy, takes us to the importance of digital financial capability. And then I'm moving on to Ifeoma now. Ifeoma, financial inclusion is anchored on the need to strategically bring everyone in, bring every adult in into the beautiful world of financial services, which then necessitate hands-on financial literacy and digital financial capability. How has Shicluded worked in democratizing this knowledge for women, particularly women in urban and peri-urban women in Nigeria? Over to
So,
you, Ifeoma.
thank you very much for having me here, and hello, everybody. So, when we talk about financial inclusion, and we are preaching financial inclusion, a key thing that I've noticed from my experience is financial literacy is the bedrock on which it's found. And what is financial literacy? Financial literacy, when people throw that big word, even that word alone I've seen sort of like exclude women because they feel they're not literate enough. But financial literacy is just simple. The act of understanding and using financial services for your own better financial well-being. So when I think about financial inclusion and how it should be communicated from a gender point of view, it should be communicated to the woman to make her understand that this is for your own good. Looking at a CBN report from Women from 2020, it says 1 in 3 women do not trust financial service providers. And that is what I've seen just by working in a gender-specific company. Women that are able, that should have access to financial services, just choose to do informal sectors that are not recognized. I mean, one of my biggest discovery from doing Shikli is the fact that I went out thinking that, I wanted to bring a bunch of women to now consume financial services. And what I found is that women were actually running their financial services, but they were running it parallel to the men. So what we are doing basically is saying that as being a digital platform, is giving them first the confidence to know that digital businesses can enable them get in and access it. We've been able to democratize financial literacy by even making it available on social media. We've been able to do that by going to women groups and telling them how and why they need to use insurance, why they need to invest, why they need to save, why they need to understand what it is to have life insurance, and different things, and why it is not for the good of the government or for the financial services, but it's for their own good. In terms of using digital means, some of our clients that we work with are actually in the north. Some of them are in the west. So they now, just by coming to a platform and being able to access loans from anywhere in the world, they've now developed trust. I mean, we've had a few of them saying, we just did this. We don't know that it will be approved. And we tell them, you're qualified. Your business makes sense. And you deserve this. And this is your right, actually, to financial services. And you should not shy away from it. You should actually use it. So that's what we've been able to do since we started as a gender-focused fintech. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifeoma. And well done on the great job, on the work that you're doing at Shicluded. I love the word Shicluded, just like I love harvest. Shicluded means, she is included. It's all about inclusion. And harvest is rather a play on words that says harvest. So when you look at it from two sides of the way, is either you're saying harvest, or you say harvest, which means gathering farm produce or farm produce, which is also about abundance. And you mentioned something, Ifeoma. You mentioned it briefly. You mentioned trust. When it comes to financial service and the uptake and usage of financial services, trust is very key. And I will use myself also as an example. For a long time, I I hesitated using USSD USSD transactions, and you will wonder. And most of the time, I just feel awkward using USSD,
Are you
not
serious?
because not because it's not good, not because it's not fantastic, not because people are not using it, but because I maybe a part of me do not fully trust it, and I hesitate a lot. And when it comes to financial services, it's all about trust. And also, when we talk about financial inclusion, we all know that it's a behavioral change process where people internalize, people have preconceived ideas about how money should be spent, where they should spend the money, what they should invest in. It's all about that trust. It's all about that norms that they've held onto for such a long time, which then make, even while organizations like Shicluded and Harvest are doing amazing work, but the work of formal financial institution is very important and very crucial. There are a lot of people that will still not go with the harvest of this world, that will not go with the secluded of this world, that will not go with that will probably go with Edfin. But then we go with Edfin and we go with EcoBank, we go with Access Bank, we go with brick and mortar banks, because financial services or money in itself, it's a behavioral change, process in which people love to know where they are keeping their money. I want to know where my money is being kept. I want to be able to scroll in, because you will wonder, why do we still have long queues in the banks? Is because of this behavioral change that we are talking about. People want to see their money typically. People want to feel their money. People want to know that their money is safe. So it's all about safety, which then takes us to the role of formal financial institution. And I'm going to Mujirayo now. Mujirayo, would you say that the banks are doing enough in providing support for women in business, particularly the women from the low income areas? And briefly, before you go on, you know that the banks still service when it comes to the population that we are talking about, all this population that we are talking about, and that's daily transactions that happen, the banks are still responsible for it. And we know that the banks have done a lot when it comes to creating, designing to fit the needs of women. But do you think that a lot has been done in providing real support when it comes to training, when it comes to access, when it comes to credit, when it comes to even, meeting them wherever they are, irrespective of who they are and where they are? And please note, I said where they are. Over to you, Mujirayo.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Tolu. Thank you for having me here. Um, so, but first of all, I'd like to appreciate the works of Harvest and the works of Shicluded, because basically we cannot undermine the effort of this. We cannot undermine the effort of this digital inclusion also, although as a financial institution, more formal financial institution, but we cannot also underestimate the good work they are doing, because I personally think as a bank, we're not able to reach to as much levels as much as these businesses. So thank you for the good works. To your question, Tolu, I honestly believe that we're doing quite enough in providing support for women in businesses and low-income earners. But however, there's a lot to be done. And I heard when Ifoma mentioned that most of their clients are north, they're to the west, they're the low income earners at the north. As a financial institution, I also know how we are more structured, we're more we're more guided by some regulatory rules that cannot make us do some other things to do as much as we want to. But on the other side also is the things we've also done is we've been able to create unique business cases through providing good gender proposition. Generally, I think female businesses, a lot of female businesses and low income earners, they lack good vocational skills, technical skills, education, financial independence, all of that. As a bank, what we also think to do also is to provide all those provide services and propositions that also helps to with these challenges, that helps to mitigate against these challenges. We know that a lot of time lack of financial literacy, lack of low level of education also impedes on these female businesses, their activities, and how also as a business, when you have a higher level of education and literacy, it also helps you to gain more financial independence. So as a bank, what we're also looking at that, firstly, we're developing strategic, specific diagnostic gender proposition and to help these female businesses, to help these income earners. And also, we're also looking at partnership, which is very key in terms of guarantee schemes to also provide better initiatives and better finances for these women. And thirdly, also, what we're also doing is to also increase women's education. Research has shown that most times, often than not, women do not need only financial support. They do. That's not the only thing they need. It's equally as important, but they do not need only that. There's also the part whereby they need the non-financial support. So what we've also done at the financial, is as financial institutions, is to also provide both financial support and non-financial support. When we talk about non-financial support, we're talking about trainings combined with access to financing. So under IDBA, we've been able to train over 5,000 women in terms of ensuring that we also give them access to financing after these trainings. We have what we call the AU NEPAD, whereby after the training, you have access to grants between $1,000 to $5,000. It's supported by African Union. So the beauty about financial institutions, that most of the time they gain a lot of international support to also help serve as guarantee schemes to provide these credit lines targeted at these women. Then also, what we're also doing as a financial institution is capacity building. You cannot overemphasize the importance of financial. When you talk about financial inclusion, you will be surprised as how a lot of women lack these skills to support their businesses. And when I mean skills, it's not only about the technical skills. There's the vocational aspect, there's the literacy part. I hear, I think it was Ifoma that mentioned yesterday about how a lot of women, I don't think they're excluded. It's just that they were not going through formal institutions. What they were doing was to go through ASUSUs and all of that. But as a financial institution, what we're also doing is to also ensure that we give this capacity building to enhance the skills of these women entrepreneurs in running their small businesses. We have to support them with that. And also, as a financial institution, thanks to the regulatory bodies, what we also do is that we also partnership set out. The public sector gives us initiatives that also encourage we as the private sector to lend to more women. There's a lot of issues with startup businesses, and we also know how banks have really reclined with giving money to start a business. And I don't think it's only for women, it's generally as a business, because a lot of women lack structure and all of that when you start a business. So you need to be able to prove to us that your business is well structured, there's management in place, you understand your books. So what we're also doing also is capacity building, supporting, having intervention funds in support with public sector initiatives like CBN to also ensure that we lend to these female entrepreneurs, equity funds to also address the constraints women go through also in starting up their businesses. I mentioned intervention funds, and there are pretty much a lot of intervention funds. We have the one for the creative industry, we have the one for agriculture, we have the one for healthcare. There's pretty much of that. And also, I'd say that there's a lot to be done. We're doing our part. We're hoping to do more. Like I said, we've trained a lot of women. We've also given access to financing at reduced and discounted interest rate to over 10,000 women. In terms of businesses, in terms of individuals, there's a lot to be done. It's not something we alone as a financial institution can do. And I really appreciate the works of Shivers, Harvest, and She Included. It just shows that we are all involved in this to ensure that we break this poverty and lack of confidence in women to ask for more. As a financial institution, we're open to the doors are open. Women just need to understand that these doors are open. They have access to this. It is their right. they are entitled to this. When they ask for this thing, they are not going overboard, you know, and that's where confidence comes in, and that's where women should be less risk averse. So we're here to support as a financial institution. We're doing our best. We intend to do more, to create more, to give more opportunities to women, and just to be able to, for women to be better in terms of financial independence and to come out of that poverty mindset, that fear of doing business on a global level and larger scale. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Mujirayo, and thank you on the great job you're doing. You've been doing an amazing work at EcoBank on the Elevate desk. Well done. But then it takes me to, we've spoken about, Ms. Lawson spoke about not wasting the 50% of our population. Sholakwe spoke to us about these female smallholder farmers that Harvest is providing support to. Shiklude spoke to us about the financial literacy and education. And you spoke about the role of the former financial institution. But then it comes to, I'm coming to the, and I'm a little bit biased there. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm biased a little bit about low-income women. My work is centered around women's economic empowerment, because a woman that is economically empowered, she can say no, she can say yes, she can walk away from any sort of abuse if she's economically empowered, which makes the work that Mama Money is doing very important, very key. I have been a very big fan of Mama Money, of Nkem, the work that Nkem Okocha has been doing for such a long time. In fact, nobody can doubt the passion that Nkem brings to Mama Money, from looking for housing for women that are stranded as a result of the death of their husbands, as a result of physical abuse, as a result of any kind of shocks, particularly during the COVID-19. And now we are talking in context of COVID-19. You mentioned something, Mujirayo. You said most of the time the bank cannot get to the last mile, which then makes it important for the banks to begin to work with organizations, institutions like Mama Money. I'm going now to Nkem.
I totally agree.
Nkem, microcredit is a financing instrument that Mama Money uses a lot in working with the low-income women. But would you say that this microcredit, and when we say microcredit, we are talking about as low as maybe 10,000 naira for a woman to be able to, use for a small business, which it can be from frying akara to doing masa in front of the house. Would you say that this financing instrument, microcredit, has enabled low-income women to transition from subsistence to scalability? Because also when we look at low-income women, they are women that are really working hard. And most of the times, the former financial institution, and this is not a slight against former financial institutions, are not doing enough in providing access to this category of women. I would say why? Because the requirements that are typically attached to serving this category are not within reach. So you would typically have, and I know that the CBN has done a lot around, providing, various tiers of accounts. But then you still have identification issue, which Ms. Lawson touched on during our dry run yesterday. Identification is key for women. And we have a lot of women who do not have this identification. A lot of women who cannot typically meet up to the requirement that the former financial institutions will be asking them. They will be asking for utility bills. How many women have utility bills? How many women have, how many women can provide identification, even NIN, BVN, which takes me to Nkem. Would you say that microcredit in itself is enough of a financing instrument to be able to take these women from a point A to a point B? Over to you, Nkem. Particularly in their business.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Thanks, Financial Inclusion Nigeria, for having me. So, I would say yes. And I will use women that we've worked with at Mama Money as example. So, I'll give an example of a woman called, we call her Alagbo. Alagbo in English means a woman that sells herbs. She sells herbs. So when we met her, she was in this small kiosk that had no shelter selling. So prior to when she met us, she talked about how she used to go and meet people to play, her family members to give her money to run a small business, but they would not want to help her. And if they give her the money, it's not enough for her to buy what she wants to buy until she met Mama Money. And we were able to give her this fund. As I talk to you, this woman, from that small kiosk, she has now grown her business to a shop. She's now in a shop. In fact, when you get to the community when she sells, you would see she, because she has a shop, some people are comfortable enough because she'll put these seats around and she'll put this small peppered pomo there, so that when you take that bitter herb, you'll be able to just put something sweet in your mouth. So, and she was able to do this because of the help that Mama Money has given to her. And in the course of impact in her life, she lost her husband. But even though she's a widow, she's still able to thrive because now she pays her rent. She's able to pay her rent. She's thriving. She has a new business location because she has access to funding. And you talked about identification and different kind of things, collateral that maybe formal financial institution will tell them to go and bring, like guarantors. For we at Mama Money, we are passionate about inclusion. We are passionate about really helping these women. So what we've done over the years is we build relationship with our women because, like Harvest said, she said that you need to go to where these women are. So for us, we go to where they are and we do what we call community identification. So when these women are collecting funding from us, they do not need ID card. They do not need to have maybe different, maybe a guarantor. We know them, they're in their community, and the community can identify them and say, okay, this woman lives here. That's what we've done. So for Alagbo, she is able to thrive because of microcredit. I'll give you another example of Mrs. Beatrice. When we met Mrs. Beatrice, she used to sell kerosene and she used to be under this small canopy with just a small drum selling kerosene. As I talk to you, Mrs. Beatrice now has her own shop. She has grown from selling only kerosene to selling engine oil. So she'll go to trade fair to go and buy engine oil in cartons. So we've been able to help her. So she's not merely surviving, she's thriving. So I'll give you another example again. When COVID hit, so for the sector of women that I work with, there's a lot of financial assistance to different categories of entrepreneurs. But this set of women, I would say nobody thought of them. So what we did at Mama Money was to start giving microcredits and micro grants immediately after COVID-19. And I'll share a story of a woman called Mrs. Okeke. Mrs. Okeke used to go to a market in Lagos called Iyanoba. So she would go there, beg the people that bring corn to, she'll take some, she'll go and roast, and she'll give them the money back. She was merely surviving until somebody told us about her. We visited her in our community and we put her on our project. After helping her with funding, As I speak to you, the last time we visited Mrs. Okeke, she now carries a bag of corn. She's now selling bitter cola in bulk, and she's also selling plantain in bulk, just in a space of 6 months. You would not know her again. You would see the transformation that has taken place in her life. Another example is that of Mrs. Okpara. Mrs. Okpara is a farmer. She also got funding from us because she farms. So when she's watering her farm, she has to use buckets. So because if she's planting, maybe I don't know, maybe she needs to plant just like 2 beds because or 3 beds because that's the amount she can what's it called, water using buckets. But when she came to us with her funding, we were able to give her money to get this pumping machine to help her water her farm. And as I talk to you, the land that she plants on has increased. She improved on the land. So I can begin to count different women that microcredit has helped, because for them, what we've been able to do, like I said, is we've been able to build that relationship with them to show them that we really care. Another thing that we've done is when you talk about financial literacy, that's also key for us at Mama Money, because when we started, we did what we call a human-centered design interviews for different women in different markets, in different communities. And we discovered that most of them lacked this skill. So we designed a toolkit called the Mama Biz Toolkit that helps them to track their sales, their expense, and we teach them in the language they can understand. And recently we launched Shisabi. So on their mobile phone, they can learn customer service because nobody is teaching them. So all these things makes their business to thrive. So adding financial literacy, the microcredit, these women are not just able to survive, they are thriving. And I can say microcredit really is a very good tool to uplift low-income female entrepreneurs from poverty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to clap. I'm going to clap now. And I want everybody to clap because that is amazing. When we talk about financial inclusion, there's nothing vague about financial inclusion. There's nothing theoretical about financial inclusion. We're talking about human lives that are changed. We're talking about women's lives that are changed. You are talking about a woman that typically will not have anything, but because of the impact, because of the good news, because of the gospel of financial inclusion, by opening of bank accounts, by provision of innovative financial products to her, and by that financial literacy and digital financial capability, she's then able to play in a field. She's able to play in an arena where she will normally will not be able to do before. So this is amazing, and thank you, Mama Money. Thank you, Nkem, on the amazing work. You talked about Mama Lagbo. You talked about the woman selling cola. You talked about the woman that is selling. In fact, this is amazing because when we think about financial inclusion, let's think about the human lives. Let's think about this as yes, numbers are good, but beyond the numbers, what are the human lives that are involved, the human lives that are changed forever because of the interventions that we bring to them. And thank you very much. You talked about microcredit. You talked about how microcredit is a wonderful instrument to uplifting women, particularly low-income women, from poverty to a more sustainable livelihood. And I know that everyone that is on this call and everyone that is looking at that is watching this live stream, either on LinkedIn or Facebook, they are very key on how do we take women from point A to point B. So women are, and I usually tell people, women, we are not an homogeneous group. We are not homogeneous at all. Just like a lot of people and a lot of institutions has fallen into the error of thinking that we are homogeneous. We are not an homogeneous entity. We are highly heterogeneous in the sense that we have different needs, we are different places, different life experiences, and therefore we need context-specific financial needs that focuses on our needs, focuses on our desire, focuses on our on what we need per time. So I would say that for everyone that is on this call, let's begin to think, what can we bring? How can we support the women in our, it can be low income women, it can be urban women. We have women that are ready to scale. We have women that are still at the bottom of the pyramid. But what is important is that we are able to work with every woman, meeting them where they are to be able to move to the next level. Which then takes me to the next round of questions. And thank you for everyone that is watching us, that is sending comments. We are going to get to the question bits we're going to get to the questions in a bit. And please kindly hang in with us. This is a very interesting conversation, and I'm so happy to be moderating this session. So back to Ms. Lawson. When we talk about financial inclusion, we also talk about intentionality. That's because it is an effort. It's something that we keep doing. So all the great work that Efina is doing, all the great work that Edfin is doing, all the great work that the banks are doing, everybody, we are all putting in our best. You are all it's like a dam that we are trying to fill up, an empty dam that we are trying to fill up. That means that we all need to be working hard. We all need to be working hard, and it takes it requires a high level of intentionality. Part of this intentionality is ensuring that there is a synergy between what has been done in the past and what is being done now. A lot has been done in the past. In fact, even before technology became that thing that we all know now, where we could all confidently interface with technology, there have been people that have been working so hard to make sure that we enjoy the life that we enjoy now. And part of those people is Miss Lawson, and she's still working really hard. But we need to create that intergenerational handshake between the past and the now, so that we can all work together, because we all know Mujiraya mentioned something. She mentioned partnerships. Nobody can do this work alone, and that is the truth. We are all working in our individual ways to make sure that we bridge that gap. Ms. Lawson mentioned the persistent gender gap. It's disturbing, and I know it's disturbing for everybody that is on this call. How do we bridge this gap? Is by working together, is by not working in silos. But do you think, Ma, that is intergenerational? Because we need to learn a lot. And I also do not belong to that school of thought that, that things that, because of technology, because of a lot of shiny things that is up now, that we don't have to learn from the past. In fact, if we do not learn from the past, it's high probability that we are going to stumble a lot. Which then, how do we bring together everyone that is working in this sector for learning? Because there's a lot of learning that needs to be done. How do we bring everybody together? Is it even achievable in Nigeria given the various circumstances? Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. It's a very, very important and interesting question. When you talk about this intergenerational work, it's, even on this panel, I'm so impressed with what our young professional women are coming up with. And if you look at everyone on this panel, you can see that the next generation is already taking off with very great, innovative ideas. I was wondering what that sound is. Is it from me? There's a sound. Okay. Anyway, so one wonders, what's the innovation, the opportunities that are out there. But your question brings forth, a very key important thing. Someone said, if you want to, I mean, there's a proverb about how far do you want to go. If you want to go very far, then you need a team to be able to do that. And I agree with you. There's the Women in Finance Nigeria. It's a group of professional women in the financial sector. It covers all aspects of financial services, from social impact to formal financial institutions. So what we've done in that group is to bring all the women together to see how we can support each other, both in careers, but also in creating impact. So I will encourage a lot of our panelists to check out Women in Finance Nigeria to see what we've been doing. We hold webinars to improve skills. We talk about female gender issues. In fact, we have a project that we want women to be the ones who are recording videos so that women that are excluded can have access to financial literacy. Because some of the issues, especially in the North, is about, a man can't be seen selling services to a woman physically. So women can, be those who are involved in marketing. So those are some of the things I feel that we can do to ensure that those of us who have been in this industry for a long time can pass on the knowledge. But also, one of the key things I personally have learned is that even we, the older generation, can learn from the young ones in areas of innovation and technology. I've seen amazing product designs that have come out, from new ideas, new firms, fintech, that truly can scale and improve the impact that we can have when we talk about women and financial inclusion. So it's something that we are actively working. We should have more associations like that, more opportunities for us women to brainstorm and see how we can actually tackle these issues. So we women understand women more, and therefore I think we are best placed to design the best products, the best interventions for women financial inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Lawson, you mentioned some very important comments that talked about we can all learn from each other. Nobody is, it's not a case of a Methuselah where you cannot learn again. As long as you're in this world, you have an opportunity to learn. The young can learn from the old, and the old can learn from the young. That is an amazing statement. When it comes to the work that we do within the financial inclusion context, there's a lot of learning to be made. So that means that we have to be doing a lot of cross-learning. And thank you very much for that. We have some questions. We're going to be, as we go with the next round of questions, we're going to be taking questions randomly. Someone asked, and anyone within, I could call on any of our speakers, or if you want to really answer the questions, please go ahead. Beyond access to credits, what else can be of value to women under the financial inclusion? So beyond credits, what else is of value to women under financial inclusion?
So from the work that we do at Shicluded, I mean, when I started Shicluded, it was basically the first thing that I saw was that women needed more capacity to do more. So just the fact that I felt that the lowest hanging fruit is capacity to do more, we started with credits and access to credits. And I want to change that misconception that every time we talk about financial inclusion for women, we're talking about credit, because I made that mistake. But having done Shicluded for 2 years, I have seen that access to credit is fine. It brings some of them to the table. But some of them are already on the table. We need them to move forward. So things like just advising them to say hi, invest invest, have a personal financial goal and invest. Invest on real estate, basically. Does that make sense? Also, for women that have done their business and are making maybe XX revenue and they feel that they are comfortable, just telling them that the view on the top is nicer. So that's the reason why you should put that structure in your business. That's the reason why you should get the right team behind you. That's the reason why you should go into an accelerator and different things. So whenever we think about financial inclusion for women and everything, I hate to see that everybody thinks about low income credit for women, because for me, it's sort of like a bias. There are amazing women doing amazing things. Financial inclusion for women cuts across just getting them to even health insurance. I mean, when we said I should do that, one of the big things that caught me is that I was talking to women that looked like me, that had more money than me, and I was telling them about health insurance, and they've never had a health insurance their whole life. What does that mean? It means that when they are older and they're trying to get a health cover, they will have problems getting a health insurance company to cover them because they did not grow with a health insurance. So when it comes to inclusion when it comes to financial inclusion for women, I don't want, it's more than access to credit. It's more than, in a world where, the men still control everything. I'm very conscious to know that when we are talking to, I'm very conscious to know that inclusion is both a man and a woman stuff, and women will not go very far without men being on the table and understanding it. So I like putting the numbers and saying that there's so much more when it comes to inclusion, and you can play in any of those fields, and they're as valuable to women as any other thing. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add also to what services. Financial inclusion is not only about credit. In fact, if you looked at the in definition of what we mean by financial inclusion, is access to financial services at an appropriate manner, at appropriate costs, so that it's affordable as well. So affordability is also some of the issues, and that it helps the user to improve their lives. So you mentioned health insurance. Insurance too is one area. Fire, burglary. Like I remember there was a time in Balogu Market that there was a fire. Because we had added insurance to our credit, all our clients were able to start up their business almost immediately because insurance paid out their loans and extra money for them to set up the business. Then there's payment services. Some women have to work and, just to be able to pay school fees and, pay electricity bills. Payment services is another area. Financial diaries. Keep teaching women how to keep record of their spending. What are they spending for? How are they using their money is also important. And investments. Nothing says women cannot invest in mutual funds, saving that 10 naira. So, I was just even talking to my maid yesterday, and she put money in this cooperative. She doesn't know the name of the cooperative. She does not know how to get in touch with the cooperative. Say one friend brought her, so she calls the friend who calls the it's just sort of education that we need for women, for them to be enlightened. They want to invest, they want to save money. They don't want their money lying around. So investment, things like PiggyVest and all of that, so that they can easily, with small amounts, start saving. And savings is also critical. So there's quite a bouquet. Everything that happens in financial services is what we are saying. It's just that when you measure financial inclusion, I always say it shouldn't just be, have they opened a bank account? There should be other services they are using. They've opened the bank account and they are using other services as well, at least one or two. So that's about it for financial inclusion.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Ifema, and thank you, Miss Lawson. When we talk about financial inclusion, it is about that bouquet of, see it as a bouquet that is being thrown at you by a bride for you to catch. So in that bouquet, you have insurance. In that bouquet, you have investments. In that bouquet, you have access to credit. You have financial literacy. You have a whole lot. So, and that is very, very key. And Ma, you mentioned something. You mentioned something about your maid that was, saving her money in cooperatives, and that takes me to something that has been on my mind for such a long time. It will be an error to say that women, particularly low income women and rural women, have not been involved in financial services. For a long time, even from time immemorial, women have been involved in informal financial services system. We have a Susu, we have a Joe, we have Dachi, we call it different names. And also, it is an error to think that women in rural areas have limited financial needs. It is an error. It is not true. In fact, they have more financial needs than we do in the urban areas. And it then takes us to this financial literacy. Financial literacy is very key. Informa, you said it all when you mentioned capacity building. It is very important for us to be knowledgeable about the various financial service providers that we have, about the channels, about investment, about insurance. Insurance is very, very important. And I think that not so much has been, we've not really, opened so much light about insurance. And insurance is very key, because if one thing that we also noticed during the COVID-19, when there were lots of restrictions that were placed around, and a lot of business shut down, like typically shut down. It then shows us the importance of insurance. It shows us the importance of savings. On Sunday was the World Savings Day. Why it is important for us to save, but even more than saving, it's important to begin to insure our businesses, insure even our properties. And it takes me to this next question, which is not particularly related to it, but I'm going to Mujirayo. What are the typical pitfalls women entrepreneurs face when they seek credit from banks? Because, to be honest with you, a lot of women are hesitant in approaching banks when it comes to when it comes to access to credit. Even while access to credit is not the key thing in financial inclusion, access to credit is a major issue that a lot of women face when it comes to their businesses. And most of the times they want to access credit, but then we have all this collateral. We go and bring this, go and bring that, and it is bothersome to the women. And I know that is what makes the work that she included, Harvest, Mama Money, Edfin, that is what makes their work very important. But also, we still have this category of women that will not go to Edfin, that will not go to Harvest, that will still go to EcoBank, that will still go to First Bank, that will still go to this bank. So what are the typical pitfalls? And please, when we are talking about women here, we are also not looking at women as an homogeneous group. We are looking at women as an heterogeneous group, in which we are looking at diverse women. So within this category of women that you're going to be talking to us about, please let low-income women, rural women, wherever they are, whoever they are, be included. What are the typical pitfalls that they should look out for, and how can they overcome these pitfalls? Over to you, Mujirayo.
Thank you, Tolu. I think this question is closely related to the question that was asked earlier, where someone said, aside from credit financing, what does inclusion, how do we include women? I'd say that, and I hear you when you say I shouldn't be talking from the perspective, I should think of women as a large. And as a bank, as a financial institution, and Tolu, please say it the way it is. Harvest, she included our competition in this game, and it does. as a formal financial institution, I understand the fear and the issues women have in approaching us because we are more streamlined, we're more structured. And that's not to say the other businesses are not structured. It's just that we're guided by a lot of things. We are more cumbersome. Let me not use the word cumbersome, but there's a lot that goes into taking credit from us. Unlike a mama money, unlike a secluded, and we appreciate those works they are doing. So I'd say that a lot of times, some of the pitfalls that female entrepreneurs go through in accessing financing from financial institutions. We understand that women make significant contribution to the economy, and it's been said that about 31 to 38% of female have either full or partial ownership in SMEs in emerging markets. And we appreciate that bucket as a financial, and that's why you see a lot of financial institutions are setting up their own gender proposition because we are like that this market we need to include these women. These are people that grow. There's a saying that says, if you support one woman, you're supporting a business, a society,
Family.
our children. You know, every family. Thank you, ma'am. Family, everybody close to her. So we cannot understand the overemphasize the impact of female businesses in our economy. So when you talk about the challenges, and I'd say first off, one of the pitfalls of women, or one of the things women should take into consideration when they are approaching financial institutions, that a lot of times, first off, is lack of confidence. You'll be surprised at how there's lack of confidence. Women are more risk adverse than our male counterparts. You know, you'll be surprised at how much female themselves as an individual and businesses do not understand that they need to have confidence to be able to approach these financial institutions. It is your right. And that's why it's easy for them to want to go to an Isusu or to this and not to strike out those, because obviously, like you said, in the past, those were things we used to do. And a lot of us were trained from those monies and we appreciate it. But we need women to understand that they have access to this. It is your right to walk into this financial institution. Like Mrs. Lawson said, financial inclusion means that access to services, as little as good customer service, it's as important as what you have access to. Now, another key thing is lack of information proportionate to women impact and the entrepreneurs. One of the challenges we strive to cover is access to market. You cannot take that importance away. Women do not understand, a lot of men do not understand the access to market. Access to market means that setting your business on the global level, networking, giving your business other opportunities that takes you out of your own circle, your own market, you know, putting yourself in that way. Those are things that women need to understand. And those are things we also look at when we're looking at your business structure. That leads me to lack of correct business structures, lack of management. One of the issues that I've seen with a lot of women is the lack of book records, record keepings. And I keep on saying that this is not only applicable to loans. On the other side is grants also. Even as much as when you want to have access to grants, there's a part where you also need to understand your books. You need to have a customer base. There's a lack of customer base. There's lack of keeping your records, knowing your profits, knowing your revenue, knowing the expenses you go through. You know, some women just do businesses without putting these structures in place. And I love what Mama Money said that they have an app called Sabi, you know, to help these women, these low income earners, to also understand that, you know, because they need to be able to do it in a language they understand. As a financial institution, we also try to concentrate on low income earners. That's why we have our EFEI also, that also caters to low income earners in terms of giving women as low as 50,000 naira, you know, as for financing. But those are things we need to understand. Women, we need to put structures in place in our business. So when you're coming to a bank, you're coming with your records, you're coming with your cash flow analysis, you're coming with your expenses, you're coming with your, even if you don't have audited financials, and trust me, most SMEs do not. Yes. If you're able to, please go ahead and know your financials, know your book. For low income earners, at least have a good record keeping your sales, your invoice, what you're doing, what you're making in a month. It helps you understand your business, because those are things we need you to show to be able to say, oh, I want to have access to financing. Now, there's also the part of lack of experience, which is also related to lack of management, lack of structure. Another pitfall is character, which is one of the 4 C's of accessing financing any financial institution. You need to ensure that you keep good records so that when you try not to take loan from one place and it goes bad, because as a credit bureau, we need to know that you have the capability and you have the honesty to pay back these loans. We're going to check your credit rating, check those things. So a lot of women fall off at that stage also, because probably they've taken from a microfinance or a smaller bit and a lot of times we see those things back end, they're taking from a microfinance and all and think that they can come to a more formal financial institution. We will not look at those things. We look at those things. Also, capacity. You must show that you have the track record to move your business forward. There's nobody that wants to give money to someone there's no bank that wants to give money with the fear of us not receiving our money back. Those are things we want to look at. You want to see your books, want to see your structure, want to see your management structure, want to see those involved in your business, want to see how jobs you've done, want to see this and that. Now, one key factor that I know that is a major challenge to women is collateral. And I understand that because, like Miss Lawson said yesterday, first off, as a woman, your identity is taken from you in terms of you start with your family name, then you go to your marital name, then there's a lot of changing in terms of marriage certificates, even to properties, and even when as a woman you even get those properties, there's also the part of you and your spouse. I understand that. But as a financial institution, what we've also done is that we look beyond. There are women need to, and that is where understanding comes. That is where lack of knowledge comes. That is where knowledge comes into place. You need to know the kind of financing you want so that you can be able to navigate the finance you need for your business. Women need to understand that you don't need an OD when all you need is just an invoice discounting. We need to, by time, and I know it's our job also to prepare those solutions, but we also need to know that you also understand your business. And so with that, you don't need a tangible collateral. We have what we call merchant advance, where we support business owners, small businesses. As long as you have our POS, you have a collection with us, you have access to as much as 5 million naira. As little to 50,000, as much as 5 million naira. Those are some of the things we need women to understand. So that when you're coming to us, obviously we're preferring solution, but you also need that knowledge. You don't need only there are a lot of loans that you can get without having a tangible collateral, and which is one of the major challenges. So I'd say that the pitfalls: lack of knowledge, lack of good structure, lack of record keeping, lack of experience, expertise. Some women just do business because they want to do it. Those that you need to put structures in your business. Lack of confidence and being risk averse. It is very important. Women, we need to know that we deserve it. Like Ifeoma said, we deserve this. It's our right. We need to push for it. I say something a lot of times, we don't see women in the local corporate aspect. They're usually SMEs. Women, you can have access to financing that can take your business, scale your business from the startup to established. And we need to take it. We need to key into it. And we're here to support you. We're here to elevate women, So that's it.
Thank you very much, Mujirayo. That was really spot on. Lack of confidence, lack of record keeping, lack of understanding, knowledge, and it's we can't underestimate. No matter what, we can meet you where you are. The problem isn't that we are not going to be able to meet you where you are as a woman, but the problem then remains where you are, if you're not willing to move from where you are to the next level. Where we met you is you don't have a structure at all. But in the next few years that we've gotten intervention, constant intervention, we should then be able to move from where you are, not having a corporate bank account for your business. Now you have a corporate bank account. Not having record keeping, now you have financial, audited financial reports, which is very key. Structure is very key. Thank you very much, Mujirayo. I'm going to Sholakwe briefly, and we're going to be taking some questions, and I'm going to be taking some questions. Oh, okay, Miss Lawson, over to you. You wanted to add to what Mujirayo said before we move on.
Yes, thank you very much. Just a short one, really, to add to what Mujirayo said. Yes, women have a lot of these challenges that Mujirayo mentioned, and within the formal banking sector, as currently structured, it may be difficult for women to therefore access finance. One of the things that I would encourage national banks to do is to also look at how they design their products, because you also mentioned, yes, they have other loan products that don't have strict requirements. But typically, you find that those amounts are very small and maybe for shorter tenures. Whereas if you want to build a conglomerate, you may be looking for as large money that requires collateral and so on. How can we design some of those requirements to actually address the issue of women? I will tell you, I am an MD of a bank. I wanted to get what's it called, a loan for a mortgage, and my property is registered in my name and my husband's name, and the bank, and now he's an ex-husband, so the bank was still insisting that he has to sign all of those agreements because of that, because the name isn't the same. Then go to the land registry, it takes another 3 years for you to change the name and all of those kind of things. There are so many other ways. You could use a power of attorney. You could, so that actually enables women to still be able to use what is rightfully theirs. So that's one of the things I would encourage people to do, that when you're designing products for women, yes, we see all these challenges. How can we help them overcome them, or design our products in such a way that the risk we are trying to mitigate by asking for all these requirements, are there alternatives we can ask for that women may be able to more easily provide? So that's something that I felt that we should talk about. Like you talked about the Shisabi tools that already help women keep accounts. If you think about a woman's life, she's going to work, she has children, she's doing 3 jobs. For any, what, you are doing 3 jobs. So you don't have time to still sit down and be doing accounts again. Are there ways to make it easier for them? I'm not saying we shouldn't ask for those things, but how can we help women overcome those obstacles so that they have the same access that men have? So that's those are comments I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawson. And we talked about very important, issues that we don't really think about. And thank you for the example that you made about your own experience. And we wonder that most of the time we wonder that it's only low-income women that face these orders. But that's not true. We all face this ordeal, and it's important for us to begin to look for how we can mitigate this risk and how we can move forward, particularly, we that are in the business of designing these innovative financial products for women. When we talk about risk, it takes me to Sholape. You work in a sector that is highly risky. Agriculture. There's nothing anybody can say about it. Agriculture is the future of Nigeria. Agriculture is this. Agriculture is that. Agriculture is the new gold. Agriculture, we get to talk about agriculture in a lot of beautiful ways. And I'm with you on that, actually, because my organization, my organization, SIO Consulting with Agriculture and Nutrition, we work around in agriculture, and agriculture is beautiful, but we know that agriculture is also very risky, and that is what makes a lot of people to be hesitant about putting their money in agriculture, because it's highly volatile. You cannot really predict what is going to come out. Really, even when you do all the insurance, when you do a whole lot of things. So I would then say that what are the current, and you are investing in women farmers, which is a laudable, laudable concept and laudable concept. But what are your current de-risking instruments that you are using in your business model, given the instability of the market? And also complicating it now is the insecurity issues that we have in Nigeria. We all know that the northern part of Nigeria also accounts for the highest, when it comes to the provision of food in Nigeria. But also this part of Nigeria has been plagued for a long time by insecurity. But I know that farmers are still on the farm. People are still working. But what are your de-risking instruments, particularly when it comes to these, women? Over to you, Mujiayo. My Sholape.
Thank you, Tolu, and you are absolutely right. Just like other enterprises, other businesses, agriculture comes with its own risks, and I would say that all of us are paying for those risks through our wallets these days. The food shortage, the food supply, the hike and increment in prices of food, prices that we are paying for this risk. I mean, I'm just trying to say that farming is now very expensive. Um, and that's why it's double hard doing what we do, and double hard for the women that we, offer blended finance to, because it's becoming increasingly difficult and riskier by the day. Some of these risks, as you pointed out, is insecurity. Um, it's a plague, right? One that we can't even begin to qualify and tell you about. I saw a question earlier asking that are these operations in the north? It might interest you that our first, project rolled out in Bono, yeah, in a community called Kwayakusa. Our second project rolled out in Jos, okay, in a community called Kuru and Fan area in Bakinladi local government. I would say, to God's glory, these projects were rolled out successfully. But that is not without our own research, our own location-based research. And I'll also tell you what we are doing to avert that. So when we go into local government, when we go into locations, we work with multiple actors. We work with multiple stakeholders, from the government to, private key actors, to local partners on ground and all of that. So that way, we have a lot of research, we have a lot of information, we have, all the requirements to execute a great project. But in addition to that, because these locations are becoming, hotbeds right now, we are moving into, additional states, especially in the southwest, starting with Ogun and Oyo. Then in the north, we are going into Kwara and Niger. These are states that are still, stable. Okay, so we are diversifying in these areas. That's by rolling out into other additional locations. And that is in addition, like I said, to the multiple stakeholder engagements that we do when we go into these projects, especially, with the government and private partnerships on ground as well. Another one would be the, climate conditions, right? And working with these women, I keep saying, I don't know if I'd mentioned before that in designing for women, we cannot afford to go, sharply digital. It's got to be hybrid. Yeah. Um, Yourself, I've heard, Miss Lawson had heard said things around, not being over overly excited about the solutions, about the shiny objects and all of that. A lot of time, the work is in rolling up our sleeves and getting our hands in the dirt. Yeah, when I say literally in the mud, when the work is, and that's why I commend what people like, she included Mama Money especially, are doing. So for climate conditions, what we do is that we realize that a lot of the farmers we work with, because they have this historic, this is when after this, when we do this festival, because they do that festival sometime in, June or July, the week after is when we go to plant. But climate conditions are drastically changed. It's not going to rain until another, 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks down the line, using low tech, that is just looking at weather conditions and all of that. So we combine all of this together to let them know, and you'll be surprised that's why. So we see some farmers before they came into our network, they will tell you that I planted the exact season that we are supposed to plant, and at the end of the day, they could not bring out anything in output from such farms because of rapid climate conditions that are worsened. So we work with them and let them know that, hey, look at what the weather looks like. This is what it's saying. And that is in addition to using a lot of irrigation and super irrigation systems as well. to curb that. So in those two major areas, those are the ways we combat these challenges. And I think another challenge that offers a lot of risk to agricultural is the distribution and marketing, right? So you realize that I'm sure you've seen in news where women are forced to, when I spoke about for the issue of the forced sale before, selling baskets of tomato, large baskets of tomatoes for 50 naira. Women like Tomato Juice, yeah, Mira, for instance, was inspired by things like this before she started tomato juice, because you just see a bed of wasted tomato farms, already wasted, right? So we realized that distribution and marketing is a challenge too, and that's why that's a major key area. So what we do with that is that we do a backward integration, that is identifying and getting a deed from commercial off-takers before we go into the blended finance that consists of training and then project financing. So those are our three anchor areas. That is, we connect them to market, connect them to training, and then we project finance and readily take it off their hands for competitive prices compared to what they would have gotten in their local community market. So these are the areas where we are plugging in the risks, that is embedded in insecurity, markets, and of course, climate conditions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alakwe. And when we talk about the risk game, we should then talk about the it's why we are putting in these mitigative approaches is that we need to also be very resilient in when we are in this sort of climate. We need to be resilient because even with all the mitigative approaches, we might be thrown a curve that we're not prepared for. But resilience is what will make us keep on coming back and keep on coming back. So thank you and well done on what you're doing. We have a question, but I want us to be done by 12 o'clock because we know that we have a lot of viewers on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And we have a question that I think and I think Mujuraya should take this question. Can a startup business person get loans from the financial institution? Is it possible for a startup to approach an institution to get a loan? Is it going to be considered? Let's make it very brief because I still have one more question for Nkem.
Okay, so yes, it's possible, but I'll talk in terms of it's possible, and if we have to be honest, it's possible, but it's very, very hard because you need to be able to show a lot of value that startup is. Because most times, often and on, even with generally, a lot of times in SMEs, there's this thing that businesses that to know how strong a business is, it takes 2 years. And a lot of time, what banking financial institutions will say is that you must have been running your business for 2 to 3 years. But it's important, it is possible. On the flip side, also, it's stringent. So we'll talk in terms of capital. So when we're talking about capital, as a startup, obviously you should have your own capital to show that you're able to start up this business. There's something called contribution. You need to show that you are able to also support this business. You need to show a lot of evidence that this business is profitable. And we're talking about there's also the intellectual asset, the business asset, there's the intellectual asset. You can't just wake up one morning and want to start a business and walk up to a bank. You need to be able to show proof of both your business asset and your intellectual assets. In this case, for startups, you need to show that I'm starting this thing, there's value in this thing. You need to buy into it. But also, I'm speaking from an aspect of being a woman, first of all, before a financial institution. We need to understand that as a startup, most times your first option should not be loans. There are also a lot of grants that you can have access to for your business. There's something called seed investment. There's something called getting funds and angel investors, getting funds from family and friends, not to dissuade you from coming to financial institutions, but let that be your final option. As women, I don't think you want to put that much pressure on your business. They are discounted rates quite all right, but there's also a lot of things you can take use to grow money for your business before coming to a financial institution and take it up. For low income earners, yes, I can understand. But if you're talking about startups in larger scale, I think your options should be um, raising funds internally, capital investors, angel investors, those things. Loan should be, or asset financing should be your last option. And when we talked about financial inclusion, we said it is not only having access to credit.
Thank you.
It's not
Thank
only having access to, as a startup, there are other things a financial institution.
Thank Mojoel, thank you. I will have to stop you there because I know the time is of essence now. We have less than 7 minutes to go, and I want us to finish by 12 because that will make it 2 hours that we've started this wonderful and beautiful and insightful conversation. And I'm going to go briefly to Nkem, and you have 1 minute, please. You have 1 minute.
Okay.
We've all agreed that our financial institutions have a lot to do when it comes to understanding the needs of low-income women. We believe that a lot has, while they will say that a lot has been done, we still have this persistent gender gap that Miss Lawson mentioned. That means that we still need to do a lot when it comes to understanding this demographic. And would you consider co-designing? So I think that there's an active need for a co-designing to happen, co-designing between organizations like yours, enterprises like yours, and former financial institutions in understanding this market really, because there's a limit to what you can do. There's a limit to what Mama Money can do. There's a limit to what
Yes.
Included can do. The, we still need institutions like formal banks, microfinance banks to step into that gap and do more. So, but you've really taken your time to understand this demographic. Do you think that a co-designing effort is something that should be considered? 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Tolu. So I think it is something. I like talking with examples. So let me share what we have done at Mama Money. So, like Sholape said, that getting these women to start using formal financial institution or investing in low-income women requires a lot of impact investment, as in patient money. So what most people, former financial institutions who want to go into these communities like we, Mama Money, like we do. So we have low-income women, like I always say, and we also have no-income women who do not have any income generating skills. So how do you get these women into formal financial, start using formal financial services? So what we have done, we in partnership, because our onboarding session, what we do is to go into these communities and we train these women on different vocational skills, building that relationship with them. And we have a partnership with Union Bank. So what we have done when we designed our service was, for most of these women who do not have a bank account, we got them to open a tier 1 account where they don't need any form of identification. They don't need ID card. They don't need NEPA bill. They don't need anything. What we now did was we paid the loans into that account. Then, because for these women to outgrow us. We want these women to outgrow us. So I want them to outgrow 100,000 naira loan and be able to come to Eco Bank or go to GT Bank or go to any bank. So what we did is we paid the loans into their account, a Union Bank account, and these women will go to mobile money agents in their communities and pay back their loans into that account, and Mama Money debits from that their Union Bank account. Doing this, we are helping these women to build financial history. We are helping them to build credit history. We are helping them to grow their credit reports. So this is what we have been able to do. So co-designing with formal financial institutions. So partnering with formal financial institution for us is very, very key, because like you said, Mama Money is limited. But with our present strategy, what we are doing is that these women, we are getting them into, they would not want to open their account, but because of the relationship that we have, because of we have trained them on the need to open this account, they will open that tier 1 account. For some banks, it's zero balance, but for some banks, it is as low as 2,500 naira. We get them to open this account. We put the money there, and we get them to repay from there. Through this, they start building financial history, and tomorrow we pray that they outgrow us, and so that other financial institutions can start giving them funds. Another thing that happened when we started doing this is that these women, they are now open to other financial products. Like some of them have now signed up for mutual funds, because the bank now reached out to them when they started seeing transaction in their account to say, we have this service. Do you think you want to register for this service or enroll for this service? And these women said yes. And we have some of our women paying as little as 5,000 naira to join, to have to invest in mutual funds. So co-designing is very key for us. It has worked. And working with these women, low-income female entrepreneurs, low-income women, requires a lot of impact investment. Impact is impact. You cannot want to invest in this set of women and you think that you want to get immediate returns. It's a lot of patient capital, patient money that needs to go into bringing these women into the formal financial system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nkem. And you mentioned very valid points. Co-designing is the way to go when it comes to really understanding the needs of low-income women, and even not just low-income women, but every woman. We need to co-design. The formal financial institutions like banks need to work together with microfinance banks. Microfinance banks need to work together with fintech. Fintech needs to work together with startups. They need to work together with social enterprises. They need to work together with development agencies to be able to understand really the needs of these women that we are talking about. And today has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so happy, and I'm really, really proud of everyone that has spoken on this panel. A lot has been said, from not wasting the 50% of the population, the persistent gender gap that we have, but then moving on to the various innovative financial products that we have for women that Shalape talked about when working with female smallholder farmers, to the financial literacy and capacity building that Informa of Shicluded mentioned, to the wonderful work that Elevate is doing that Mujirayo mentioned, to the great work that Nkem is doing through Mama Money. All of the work that we do is so important, and Miss Lawson, you are your presence today is so important. I have learned so much, and I know that Mujirayo, Sholape, Nkem, Informa, we have all learned. You are, you are a powerhouse, and thank you so much for bringing to us that wealth of knowledge. and this conversation does not end there. It's going to be a continuous conversation that we are going to be having. Yes, this is Global Financial Inclusion Week, but it goes beyond having this one conversation. It goes to the conversation that we are having in our various in our various organizations. It goes to when we are called upon to design products, financial inclusion, financial products for women. It goes to when we are interfacing with women themselves, training them, teaching them, encouraging them. Thank you so much. Somebody on the comments said Miss Lawson is the grand matron of inclusion, financial inclusion in Africa. And I absolutely. Thank you very much. My name again is Tolulope Babajide, and I work as the financial inclusion and gender coordinator at Sahel Consulting. Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited is a management consulting firm committed to transforming Africa's agriculture and nutrition landscape. Sahel Consulting partners with government agencies, private sector companies, and leading international development organizations to conduct in-depth market research on key value chains, analyze and shape policies, develop strategies, launch innovative businesses and ecosystem solutions, organize convenings, and provide training programs that promote sustainable agricultural development across Africa. We also implement projects that center around financial inclusion and center around gender. And it has been a pleasure being here with you, with everyone. And thank you once again. I think we should really clap for Maya Wajetamabi, the visionaire for the financial inclusion, Nigeria and financial inclusion Africa. Thank you so much for having us here today, and God bless you. And thank you to everybody that logged in and viewed and watched. Thank you very much. Today has been a great day. It's been a great conversation. Let's take this conversation up in our various, in our various organizations, and let's begin to talk about it. Financial inclusion is not someone's problem. It's not someone's challenge. It's everyone's issue. It's our reality. So let's begin to talk about it. Let's begin to patronize Harvest, patronize Shicluded, patronize Mama Money, patronize Edfin, patronize EcoBank, and let's do more. Let's change the world, really. Thank you, everyone. This is Tolulope Babajide. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming on this program. This is Papa Money right now. So thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful time with everybody on this panel. I don't want to be the only man, so I gave room for all the women to take the stage. And I must confess with you, it's been an exciting time having everybody here, both on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel. There have been a lot of comments in which we can actually capture on the live streaming. To Tolulope, the moderator of today's program, thank you for bringing in the energy. Thank you for bringing in the vibe. Thank you for bringing in the knowledge. To Mrs. Lawson, the Grand Matron of Financial Inclusion Africa. Don't worry, that award is coming very soon. To Tolu, to Sholape, to Mama Money, to Ifoma, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I mean, words cannot express my gratitude and appreciation to you. Thank you very much. This is Financial Inclusion Week 2021, and the program is still promoting prosperity in an era of uncertainty. And today we've been able to go with the topic, Inclusive Finance, a bedrock for prosperity for Nigerian women. Tomorrow is going to be a global live session where we're still going to deliberate more on stakeholders' involvement, collaborations, and that is what is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a live session. It's going to be 8 a.m. Nigerian time. It's going to be 3 a.m. East Central time. Please log on to the Financial Inclusion Week, register, and be part of it. And on Thursday, we'll be back at this same table to discuss about agent network backing in Nigeria. I'll be signing out here, but thank you very much. We'll keep the conversation alive this is not just going to be a one-year thing. From now on, I think we're going to engage ourselves more digitally so that we can actually express ourselves and people can actually know what is going on and be able to also create more impact in the society. Thank you very much. It's nice having you. The broadcast ends now. Thank you. The panelists can stay behind.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.